Thank you very much, distinguished guests, dear students, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first of all thank IFAN for inviting UNHCR to be here with you today. When I was looking at you, it reminded me of the time when I was a student. And when I was a student, I always used to wonder what the United Nations is all about. And I used to see the photographs on television in which you see this round table where people are sitting, 20, 30 people, and some of them raise hands and others don't, and something happens and some decisions are taken. I don't have the time here today to do justification, to justifiably elaborate to you the whole United Nations system, maybe perhaps on another occasion. I will just focus today on one aspect of the United Nations on which my organization works, and the topic today is conflicts and refugees. In going through this topic, what I'm going to do is to outline, number one, the organization that I represent. What is that organization? What does it do? Secondly, the challenges that we face today and why we face those challenges. And third, what is being done to address those challenges. And fourth, how, if any one of you want to join this organization, how would it be possible for you to do it? So let me start by just saying that UNHCR was founded in 1950 by the resolution of the General Assembly, and initially it was thought that it would be existing only for 3 years. That was the optimism in 1950 about conflicts and refugees. However, UNHCR continues to exist in 2016. Question is why? And the answer is that the conflicts and wars did not stop in the world. We did have a Charter of the United Nations in which the states did make a pledge. However, things continue to go in a direction slightly different than what the leaders thought at the time when UNHCR was created. Its mandate is for refugees and for ending statelessness. I would not go into detail. I'll elaborate a little bit the concept of refugees, but just to give you an idea what this organization does, it has more than 10,000 staff in over 128 countries. Most of our offices are in deep field on the border areas and in 471 locations. Annual budget is about $6.5 billion, and 97% of UNHCR programs are funded by voluntary contributions. States are not obliged to give money to UNHCR. UNHCR is also one of the very few UN organizations, if not the only, which earned 2 Nobel Prizes in its history. When it comes to UNHCR's mandate, it is about refugees, and refugees are the primary responsibility of the states. States are bound by 1951 Convention. Here I must say that 1951 Convention has had only one amendment in history. That was the 67 Protocol. Just for your background knowledge, 51 Convention came out at the time just after the Second World War. And it was meant for dealing with the problems of refugees which were created before 1 January 1951, which meant Second World War and which meant Europe. The 67 Protocol Amendment made it a universal mandate for UNHCR. UNHCR intervened when states are not willing or are unable to deal with the refugee problem. Otherwise, it is the primary responsibility of the states. What did 51 Convention do? Well, who is a refugee? That is something very important for us to know before I go into what is happening in today's world. Refugee is a person, and this is the 51 Convention. What 51 Convention did was to actually define the term refugees. Before that, different terms were used, but 51 Convention defined a universal term, which is now universally accepted. That is the definition of refugee. A person who has a fear of persecution for reasons of race, nationality, membership of a particular social group, religion, or political beliefs. And the person is outside the country and have no protection from his or her own country. What is the case today? As I said earlier, that UNHCR should have closed down a long time ago. It's a rights-based organization for a particular group of people, but the wars didn't stop and the conflicts didn't stop. Only in past 5 years, if you look at this, this chart, which is perhaps not so clear from a distance, in the last 5 years, there are 15 or so conflicts which have erupted or reignited. And those conflicts have created large-scale refugees and displaced persons. Today, the figure is over 65 million. This is the highest figure we have ever seen since the Second World War. And the irony of the situation is that most of the refugees are hosted and supported by only 10 countries in the world. They come from poor areas, they come from poor countries, and they are helped by, mostly they are helped by the poor countries. As this chart shows, basically what this chart shows is that the previous one shows that these are the countries which are hosting largest number of refugee populations. And the second one shows the sources, the countries which are producing refugees. Why is this happening? I just want to take 20 seconds of your concentration on this aspect. It is happening because the governments and the states in the world are unable to resolve conflicts and even unable to prevent conflicts. If there were no wars and conflicts, there won't be any refugees. And if there were no inequalities in the world, then there won't be any migrants. And I want to underline that it's a huge humanitarian problem, but the humanitarian problems cannot be resolved by humanitarian aid. They can only be resolved by resolving political issues and by resolving development problems. Who are the people of concern to UNHCR in this whole displacement scene? Refugees. These are the people, as I just outlined to you the definition, internally displaced persons, the largest number among the 65 million people. These are the people who are in refugee-like situation, we say in our terminology. But these are the people who are displaced from their homes, but they have not crossed international border. They are called internally displaced persons. Then we have the asylum seekers. When somebody comes to a port of entry and say, I am the refugee, nobody just immediately accepts that person as a refugee. That person is called an asylum seekers. So we also look after them. Statelessness. Stateless people, UNHCR has two mandates. Not a lot of people are aware of that. UNHCR has a mandate for refugees. UNHCR works in the United Nations agency context for internally displaced persons. And then UNHCR has a specific mandate for stateless persons. Stateless persons are those people who have no nationality. Imagine yourself, if all your documents are taken away today, you have no nationality, you have no identity card. That is what happens to the stateless persons. And they are all over the world. Even in Europe, we have the stateless person. I was working in Bosnia, and we had a large Roma population. People who were born there for generations, but they could not prove they were Bosnians. So these are the stateless persons. And then the returnees, people who return, and we try to help them to integrate back into their society. Our main focus of work is delivering life-saving assistance, which has increased over a period of time. Initially, it was thought that the states will provide assistance, and UNHCR will assist the states in providing assistance. But over a period of time, because of the volume of crisis, the number of crises, that has become one of our major goals, what you sometimes see on television screen. The second is to protect rights of refugees, that if somebody asks for asylum, that person's case must be considered. That is the basis and basic of refugee law, that if somebody applies for asylum, that person should be given a due consideration. And the third one is to find solutions, and solutions mean that after certain time has passed, what should that person do? What should that family do? So either they continue to, they are integrated in a country where they are refugees, or they go back. The best solution is that they go back to their own country. And the third one is to take them what we call resettlement, and which was, you may have heard that many countries are taking refugees. Korea has recently started a pilot program of taking refugees from Myanmar in Thai refugee camps, and that pilot program is going very well. In 2016, there have been a lot of things happening. There is a lot of talk about refugees. I'm sure that you see in the newspaper and on television channels. This issue is becoming so huge that it's becoming very difficult for any one organization to deal with it. And the world leaders have been putting their heads together how to manage this crisis. So a number of things have happened, and this just list. There have been global consultation on Syrian refugees. There was a World Humanitarian Summit in Istanbul, attended by very high-level officials from Korea. The first time the refugee team participated in Rio Olympics. One thing here I want to say, that sometimes it doesn't come home to us that refugees are also people. So we are not talking only about a particular group of people. They are people like us. They have needs like us. They breathe like us. They think like us. They have dreams like us. And when they have to leave their homes, they have to leave everything behind. And that sometimes includes their dreams. So first time we were able to put together a refugee team which participated in Rio Olympics. And then there have been two major summits, United Nations General Assembly Summit, which was hosted by the President of the General Assembly and facilitated by Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. And the second one was hosted by President Obama. And then there was a New York Declaration. Basically, the New York Declaration and these summits asked the countries to make a commitment that you will all work towards resolving the existing crisis and do everything possible to prevent future crises. I'm not sure how it will all be, whether it will all be implemented, but there were a lot of commitments made. The summits were very successful. The foreign minister of Republic of Korea participated in those summits, and there were the centrality. One thing which was, the second thing apart from commitments was to put the human rights element, the international protection at the center of this whole crisis. Don't treat refugees badly. Don't think that refugees and migrants are only a burden. We have to see them with an eye of humanity and human rights. So that's what the current situation is. I was told that I should also say a few words about how people, because I'm addressing the students, that how you can join, what are the ways that there is an interest among students. There are different pathways. We have internship program, which is basically you apply. I will give, there will be a website that you can follow. Internships are in the UN. We are not paid, and normally for students who are doing their master's degree. Then we have the entry-level humanitarian program, which is for young people who go through certain examination and then examination and interviews, and then they are put on a roster, and then they are taken in the organization. There's a junior professional officers program, which is funded by various governments. So Korean government also has a junior professional officer program, and you apply to their advertisements made by the government. We have talent pool. Talent pool basically means that people apply for positions, and then their names are kept on a list, and they are used when the organization need them. Compendia vacancy, it comes out it comes out twice a year. It may sound a bit complicated and a bit too far away, a dream too far, but it's very it's very simple. If you go to the website, you will find details, and if you have any questions, you can call my office. And the last thing I want to say that you are very much needed by the UN system and UNHCR. And as John Lennon said, I hope someday you join us. Thank you.